Well, welcome to the Soulful-Inspired brand of you amplified. So today we're going to really get into covering how do you start from the inside out with who you are and your very special, unique self, that essence of who you are, and build a brand that is aligned to you. And I'm really, really passionate about this. And I think I'll start with just a story about it to begin with, because I think that my story around why I got so just enthusiastic about this was because I got lost in my brand a few years back. And there's so much out there that is, go follow these 10-step processes and, you will succeed. And you see it all over the place. And to me, I started, following the shiny coins that were out there and saying, oh my God, that's what I want. That's what I want in my business. And all I have to do is do these 10 things or these 5 things, or, go pick up the latest technology or fad that's out there. And I kept following the shiny dots, right? And it didn't serve me very well. I can tell you it didn't serve me very well. And when I go back to the very core where my work had started in my business 8 years ago, it started with this just reconnection back into who I am. The strengths of, this is who I am. This is, what I stand for. This is the essence of who I am. And it was after a long career in being an executive. I was a VP of marketing and branding for a very large organization. And I had been doing it for many, many years. I got laid off and I felt very, very lost. I was so lost. I didn't know where I wanted to go, didn't know where to take my life. And through this discovery of a work that a lot of my core clients for the last 8-9 years have worked with, there was this deep work going into who are you at your very essence. And it was work that helped me found my company, right? It was where I got the ideas of where my company was going to go. And, so fast forward, I start my business, it's growing really well. There's good things happening in my business. I'm making huge difference with my clients. And so many of my clients originally were clients that were executives who were hearing this calling for something more in their life. And that something more had them finding out that they wanted to start their own company, right? It had them going out and saying, you know what, I'm leaving this corporate world. It's killing me. It's eating me alive. I'm taking the leap. And so where my business was 6-7 years ago, almost all executives, and a very small portion entrepreneurs. My business today is probably 90% entrepreneurs and 10% executives. So it's taken this really dramatic shift over the years. And what I'm going to share with you today is work that has helped me reconnect back and keep my brand on track. And it's work that I did. It's really fresh in my mind because I did a whole new rebrand last year. And so I'm going to take you through the process that helps you really tune in to who you are, what you stand for, what you want, how you want to be making a difference in the world, and how do you do it in a way that's aligned to who you are and not all the, the different fads, and how do you really weigh which are the right things for you and which are not the right things for you. And only you can decide that. I mean, it's, I can tell you, here's tools to help you explore, and here are tools for you to go deep into what it is that you want to be making a difference with, listening to your inner wisdom. Those are some things I'm going to share with you today. But at the end of the day, when it comes to making choices and making decisions, it's really your choices and your decisions. And I think that's one of the things that I got really clear over the last few years ago when I found my business kind of in this, chasing every shiny star versus coming back home to, okay, who am I? What do I stand for? How do I want to make a difference? And what are the things that I love to do from the way of how do I consume content and take in content for myself? And how do I want to spend my time marketing my business? Because what I discovered, there were some things that I really didn't like to do. And if I didn't like doing those kind of marketing tools, I wasn't really showing up in the best of me, right? And so I wasn't again choosing the right choices of how to market my business, because I frankly didn't like some of those things. So those are the kinds of questions we're going to dig into today, and the journey that I'm going to take you on. What I love about this work is that it brings in my 30 years of marketing and branding experience that I had in the corporate and as an entrepreneur world. So yes, it brings in the strategy, it brings in the processes, it brings in the linear ways of thinking. But I tell you, where the magic is not there. The magic is in the soulful side of it, right? This magic is tuning into your inside and really building a brand from the inside out. And that's where the magic is. And I couldn't be more excited to be sharing that as a core part of what I deliver into the world right now, because I think that's one of my gifts. It's like I get the strategy side of it, I get the linear processes, but damn, it's the magic comes from that going inside and listening to that beautiful, wonderful inner wisdom that each of you have, and letting that be your guide. And that's where, if there's anything that you get out of it today, is that whenever you're making decisions around your business about who you serve, it's how to tune in. And that's what I really want all of you to play in today, and to be curious about today, and just open up to the kind of the mystical of what can happen. And we can only do so much in a 3-hour call that we've got here today. What I'd invite all of you to do is look for space to be out in nature, to consider and ponder on some of these questions that I'm going to share with you as we move through the day. So, making space. I can tell you my branding planning last year started in January, and actually it started before January. It started about the time I was launching my book in 2016. So it would have been September 2016-ish that I knew I needed to do a rebrand, but I didn't know how I was going to do it and how it was going to take shape. It took some time, and it took playing in a whole lot of magical, mystical kind of ways of thinking, ritual that I set up for myself. And I'll share a little bit about that, but that's where we're going to go, and that's the journey. So one of the ways that I love to get mystical and magical is to play with a set of runes. And I should actually brought them in here. I don't have them in here, I don't think. No. If you know runes, raise your hand. Have you ever played with runes? Kara has. Okay. So they're an old Norwegian type of stone that have little symbols on them. And they're like drawing inspiration cards or something like that. It's, it's like you say, you were asking a question and you reach into this little bowl of runes, little stones, and you pull out one, you figure out, and it's got a little, little symbol on it, like this one right here, right? And so it looks something like this. And then when you go, you've got a little guide, and you can go read all about, what that rune stands for. And in this particular, when I was first starting this out, I was really starting to think about my brand, and I was trying to think about, what do I want to be, building into the work that I'm going to be putting forward in the future. And guess what? I get this Soulful rune. And the Soulful rune says, this is like a small little excerpt out of it. This is a little quote of it that comes out of like a 2-page description of it. But what I took away in that day was that what you are striving to become in actuality is what by nature you already are, your essence. It's learning to open up to the light in you that has been secretly shut away. And when I read that, I was so touched when literally I am thinking, okay, what is it that I need to be building into my brand? What's this journey look like? And I get this. And what's really, just ironic about this, for those of you who have worked with me for some time, the essence of who you are is core in my work. It has been core in my work for a from the time that I started. I was always helping my clients figure out, who are you at your essence? And so I use this rune, and I get this magical, mystical quote saying, keep staying true to this, right? So that was my first clue. And I would say to each of you that, thinking about where you're going in your journey, what you want to be creating in your life, you are, what you're striving to become, you already are that. That's who you are by nature. And how do you just light this light up in you in a way that goes out and shares your light with the world the way you want to? And that's the journey we're going to take today. So to start with, I'm going to give you guys about, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I'll kind of tune in on how long, when to pull this off. But what I'm going to have you each do is in your workbook on the first page, there is a page that says write 10 I am statements. And I want you to just stop and pause for a moment. Think about what you've been doing in the last, 30 days or so. What have you really been rocking in your business? Just think about that for a moment. Who do you aspire to be? What do you aspire to be? Who are you at your very, very core? So close your eyes for a moment and just really settle in here. And I want you to really listen in to the inner truths in your body. I want you to feel into all the wonder that you've been doing this past month, this past year, the clients you've gotten to work with. Remember some of the conversations you've had? And how have you showed up in that very beautiful space of who you are? How have you felt in your body at those moments where you felt, just like the best connections with your clients? What did you notice? Now, I want you to take the next, 2-3 minutes and just start to write I am statements. I am, and whatever comes forth from you, from these moments, from, these times where you felt just so on fire in your business, felt so connected with your clients. Who are you at your very essence? I am. Okay. What I'd like to do is I'd like to ask for a few volunteers to turn your paper upside down. Don't look at the paper. And to really just speak from your heart who you are. And Connie, I'm going to pick you to start with. So just tune in, right? Tune in. Put your hand on your belly. Really feel into your body, right? So let this kind of come into just flowing from you.
You want me to go?
Uh-huh.
I am wisdom. I'm light. I'm a heart sparker.
Mm.
I'm a heart warrior. I am alive, fully alive. I'm powerful. I'm a change maker. I'm passion. I'm intuitive. I'm light.
How's that feel?
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, I'm a big fan of when you want to own this kind of thing, put your hands up, feel it. Feel what that feels like in your body and really own it. Really, really own it. Yeah. Who else would like to share your I am?
I can.
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
I am a connector. I am an encourager. I am a powerful, godly businesswoman.
Nice. How's that feel?
Good. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. And see,
And I like this, and I liked hearing what Connie said too. It's fun to hear what other people say. Hers resonated with me as well.
Nice. Nice.
When I first started this, I wrote down 6, and I thought, oh, I don't think I have any more. And then now I have 20.
I love it. I love it. Right. So, and this is good work just to play in and, go out on a walk and sit on a rock somewhere and, write some more of these out. Keep playing in this I am statement. There's so much that can that can come from this. Let's hear from someone else, because you're right. Hearing from others it's nice. It sparks ideas. Carlin, I can't hear you.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote, I'm an intuitive connector. I am a story container and collector. I'm a perspective shifter and truth speaker. I'm a mirror that reflects my inner wisdom onto your inner questions. I'm a friendship facilitator. I'm a permission giver to give yourself permission. I'm a collaborator. I'm a fearless leader. I'm a loyal and dedicated spreader of positive vibes. I'm an ideas generator. I'm a lover of people, passion, and purpose. I'm a coach, and I'm a cheerleader.
Oh my God. And you know what? The ones you said up front totally gave me goosebumps. So the second one was about the storyteller and what did you say on that one?
I said I'm a story container and collector.
Yeah, yeah.
I
and
love that one.
Me too. And it's so befitting of you, right? It's totally
I mean, so last night I was given the title of, instead of cult leader, I was given the title of cultural leader, but like cult capitalized by some of the attendees. They were like, you're a cult leader, but you're not a cult leader. You're a cultural cult leader.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, I've never heard that before, but I like that.
Yeah. And that reflection that we can get back from others like that is so powerful. It's like, you know, when it's going into that deep, who are you? And you, if you can capture those kind of elements onto, and you're going to learn this actually, Carlin, on how you capture this onto a single diagram of who you are at your essence. This is where it starts, right? It starts from this part of this place of who you are and what you stand for. And you know, that's where your brand comes from. Because if you can light up these things inside of you that you already have, that you already by nature already are, you're so authentically aligned to your brand that, you know, no one can really take you off center on that one. So I love that. Thank you all for sharing this, and let's keep going and let's keep moving, because I want you guys to keep seeing where this goes. So we start with this very core of who I am, and who are you at your very essence? And it's learning to open up to the light in you that has been secretly shut away. The magic lies in who you are at your very essence, and learning to turn this light on where it's been shut off is the biggest lesson we can learn today. The essence of who you are and how you shine your light on the world, how you impact others around you. How do people feel in your presence, right? I mean, it's like what Carlin's sharing there is like how people were feeling last night with her in that space. So the essence of who you are and how you shine your light in the world is really, really true. And so I want you to look at these questions for just a moment. Who are you at your very essence? What light in you wants to shine unto the world? Onto the world, I'd say, actually, unto the world. And what do you want to be known for? So make a little space, and I think is that question. I haven't really checked this workbook. Yeah. So the second question really is this. So go ahead and you know, spend a moment responding to these questions. And Connie, you might mute your. Hey, Connie. You might mute yours. Oh, I can mute you. Oh, she's unmuted. She's muted. So whoever is typing, go ahead and mute yourself.
I was muted. Sorry.
Okay, that's right. So does anybody want to share what light you want to shine onto the world? Just shout it out.
Hope and freedom.
Nice. Anyone else? Casey, let's hear from you. What light do you want to share in the world?
Probably just shine brighter in my, I guess, telling and aggregating of stories to inspire and educate people.
Okay. Nice. There, for you could really get specific about how you want to inspire and educate people and how they want to feel, right? It's like how they feel better in their life. I mean, you could take that one step further.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Carlin?
I think this is a tough question for me.
Is it? And what?
Yeah,
what
it's like I sat here going, I'm not sure. So all I've written down thus far is I use fear as my fuel. Everything happens to us, not for us. I live a life of trust and faith. At my core, I'm intuitive, meaning I follow my heart because I can hear it. And I want everyone to know that we are all connected and it is all connected. If I can heal myself from disease, so can you.
Okay.
So there's like so many things.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think that's the kind of the, when we first start out asking ourselves these kind of questions, it's like, where do I go with this? Right. It's like, these are a lot of questions, and that's totally fine. Where I would go with essence, I would, and it's like the points that you made along the way there that you were talking about. So you get down below fear as fuel. And then what was the next component of that?
I said, I believe that everything happens for us, not to us.
Okay, so that's a belief. So what's the next one down?
Okay. I live a life based on trust. So I trust myself. Therefore I trust it all.
Okay. So I'm a trusting person. So that's something that you are, right?
Yes. So I want to show the world. It's like I just know that anything's possible.
There you go.
And it's possible first by believing it's possible.
Right.
And trusting yourself that you're making the decisions to take you in the direction of it being possible.
Yeah. So that's some light that you want to be sharing with the world. So I think you're starting down, and the next component of that you said after that, what was that?
What did I say? I said, I'm very intuitive, meaning I follow my heart. So it's like, what I want to teach people is you can be very intuitive and you can follow your heart.
And where I want, what I want to identify there, and that was the piece that I was looking for. I think the part that we just talked about is, that possibilities of what can be is totally what light you want to be shining out into the world. And that essence of who you are is you have this intuitive, trusting soul who connects with others easily. So that's part of the essence of who you are. So something to play with, and just learn to recognize the difference of how we want to make a difference, how we want to matter, what kind of things we want to be delivering in the world, and what is that light that just truly exists within us, and get really good and practice at recognizing and owning the gifts that are who we are. So that's what I wanted to just point out on that one. So I'll share.
I'll share.
I will share.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Connie. Go ahead.
Okay. So I am passionate, courageous, wise discerner, a trailblazer, freedom fighter, heart warrior. I love to inspire and empower people to walk in the freedom and fullness of their true identity and fulfill their God-given destiny so that they can live and work with passion, purpose, and meaning.
Nice. And know that Connie's been working on this for a while, so.
Good. I was feeling a little inadequate here. Good.
No, and I really wanted to point that out because I know several of you are new in looking at this, and Connie has been working on this for some time. So, it's fun that I love the words that she's finding that really resonate with her. So, anybody else?
I'm still working on them though. I'm still trying to.
Right.
And I'm learning a lot from. I'm learning a lot still. And I'm I'm doing it on paper, and I've got 4 different papers and trying to get it on my document on my on the computer too at the same time. So I'm consolidating here as we go.
Nice. Denise, we haven't heard anything from you. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I'm kind of new at this, so I was writing and I wrote down championing a new version of yourself, shedding my old skin, creating possibilities, changing beliefs, encouraging authenticity, becoming more, creating room for more love and light.
Nice. Nice. And how does it feel saying those?
Good.
Yeah. So those are the
Really
lights
good.
that you want to be shining into the world. A lot of those are, right? It's like how you're helping others. So I thought I would.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So just to say, like, I'm authentic and real, is that part of my essence?
If that is, I would say if authenticity and being real is like one of your top core. So like, for example, when you do the values work that we're doing you'll get to do in here in the future, when you do the values work, if authenticity and being true to yourself is like rating one of those highest values for yourself, I would say, if that's something that you live by from a day-to-day perspective and it's intricately as part of who you are, it could be. And when you do essence work, you're actually taking when we do deep essence work, we do, it's about a 6-week process where you go through all these different steps of different ways of looking who you are, what you value, what you're passionate about, and you get to a really core essence of you statement. So it can be much longer period than what we have here to spend on it. And I can show you what's showing up on the screen.
I think
but go ahead, Carla.
I think it's hard, and not to take too much time, but like, I think it's hard that I've never not been authentic. I've never not been authentic. I've never not been vulnerable. These have just become buzzwords and trigger words as I've been an adult. So like Brene Brown, she's a reflection of all these books, like I didn't learn from them. I was them. I read them and I was like, oh, this is me, So it's like, I don't want to be a buzzword. And I feel like people use these words as buzzwords and I'm like, oh, yay, you're authentic. Like, so am I, so it's like, that just means you're being true to yourself. Shouldn't we all, So it's like, I actually want to take myself away from these buzzwords because I feel like I'm unique in a way, but I still want, people to know that that's me. So it's how do I word it all?
Well, like, I think the piece where you were the story container was a great place to start, right? Who says that? That's authentic to you, but it's not, and it's original and it's unique. And I think what I love about this, using this kind of a process where you're letting those kind of words bubble up for you, you start to use branding and messaging that is unique to you. It doesn't sound like every other person out there. And that is a big thing for me. I don't want any of you to sound like, the next webinar that's coming out to sound just like every other webinar that's out there. So that's where I want to take this. So this is my essence statement, and I'm not going to read it all the way through. I mean, you can kind of take a quick glimpse at it. But it was, this was after a lot of time, a lot of work. My purpose piece of it, a couple things I want to point out on this is that, for me, it has always been about lifting women up in their passion and their purpose and really helping them go out and make a difference that they want to make in the world. That's always been my legacy for a long time. A piece that I, that I added into this a few years ago was, I will be a person who has touched millions of women's lives around the world, helping them dance into lives full of passion and meaning. And the ripple effect of my life's works, my teachings, my books, and my inspirational program will impact women everywhere. And the reason I share this with you guys is because I actually keep this really visible for me. And on a very regular basis, it has me stretching in places that I may not stretch. When I think of 1 million women, I mean, like, holy moly, that's a lot of people, right? But it's not me actually touching 1 million women, but if I go help my clients, the people that I touch, go do what they're meant to do in the world, and they go out and help their pool of clients go do what they're meant to do in the world, it becomes a ripple effect. And so this statement makes me stretch. Where something might be a little fearful sometimes, I go, oh my God, do I want to do that? I can go, wait a minute. If I'm trying to create this kind of an impact, yes, I have to go do this. So it has me stretching into things that I may not stretch into otherwise. So when you, and we're not going to work on purpose here today, but this is some of my core work again, that, it's like when you start that essence of who you are and how do you want to make a difference with it, making a purpose statement that helps you stretch is really, really a powerful thing. So, what isn't unique about you that you want to make sure that you incorporate into your brand? Just jot down any thoughts you have on that. What's unique about you? That's different, that's unique, that your brand. So where we've started was we started with this inside out of who you are. And now what's unique about you that you want to make sure is part of your brand? So Meg, I'm going to call on you. You're going to have to unmute on your end, or maybe you're not muted. I would love to hear what's
I'm unmuted now.
Okay. What's unique about you that you want to make sure you incorporate into your brand?
I am resilient, passionate, and all in.
Okay. And how does that reflect in your brand?
Well, my brand is building resilience.
Right.
So, my experience in life has been resilience over and over again. I couldn't be more passionate, and I'm completely committed. I'm completely present. I don't know if that's really unique. I think a lot of people are that.
Well, I don't know.
I know the glass is half full. I mean, that's my passion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and just so people understand what your work is, she does work with heart math, and she does it in organizations. And what's that? And this is, and we're actually going to get into this in here in just a little bit, but what's the experience of people, of you when people are working with you in the heart math situation? I'd like to see a little bit deeper on that, right?
So I think what's resonating with me in you asking that is that I know that, I'm aware, I have experience that the health of any organization is mirrored by the health of the workforce. So I'm committed to the people that are doing the work and the return on investment that you get from that, rather than focusing on the customer.
And that feels like marketing language to me. And so I'm going to push you a little bit on it. And so I want you to go into the prison system where you were working with the women in prison, and you were sitting across the table from someone, or you were with one of those women. What was the impact of your presence with that woman? What could she feel of you?
That I'm all in, that I am there for her.
Okay.
That my passion is her growth, that she takes away ahas with her, that I connect with her needs.
Yes.
Like where I meet her where she is.
Yes. So there's connection. And you have such a warmth about you. I mean, I'm just going to toss this out there. You have a wonderful warmth about you in relationship. So what is it unique about you in relationship that shows up when you sit across with that woman, that she has this trust of who you are? Right? That's the kind of questions I'm looking, or kind of way to go deeper with this.
Okay. I have to sit with that because I'm not coming up with anything new.
Yeah. And to me, it's just because I know what your essence and your presence feels like. And there is such warmth about you. There is such open-heartedness. It's like I could tell you, my deepest, my deepest fears, my deepest concerns, my biggest secrets. I would be very comfortable doing that with you. That's something
thank
that
you.
is unique. That's why we like each other, right?
Okay.
So that's what's unique about you. So
are you saying
this is about what's unique about you, that you want to make sure that you're weaving into your brand. And where you started was a little bit heady into marketing language. And I wanted to take you back down to the space of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I don't know how to put that in words. I know how to experience it or do it or be it.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it right here, but I would, because it is feeling like it's a little bit of a, it's a stretch for you right now. Go do this, go sit on the beach somewhere and go work on this one. You've got a beach by you.
Okay. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So leverage that, go sit on the ocean and just ponder on this question.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. You bet.
Thank you.
So here's a few things that when I did this exercise last year, that I found what was unique about me. One, I have a spiritual approach to business and life. And for me, it's all life. And I wanted to make sure that, I was looking at it from that perspective. I'm tapped into the universe. It's like, and I believe I can help others get tapped into the universe, the universal concepts that are out there, whatever you want to call that. You have this ability to tap into it and to lean into it. And I have the business expertise, right? So that is core. It's like I can come to this conversation and we can have really strong business and strategic leadership kind of branding conversations that are real, the things that I worked in for so many years, but I can weave something else into it. And then I found my own path into my meeting from doing a lot of this other core work, right? So these are some of the things that I found that were unique to me. And I think that when I look at what I want to bring into the essence of my relationships with my clients, comes right out of my book, Fire Dancer. And this is the poem that starts it out. And it's Fire Dancer lives within the very essence of you. Embody her presence and she will set you free. Dance her into motion and the spiral of her beauty energetically flow forth. I got to look at a bigger screen. I can't read that. An abundant painting of possibilities. Feel the swirling, flowing motion. See her colorful strands of love, magic, and vitality intermingle with the wonders of our natural world. She is you, as woman, full of life, living, alive, on fire. So this is my version of how do I want to show up in my brand? This is how do I want me showing up in my brand? What do I want to be delivering to my clients? I want my clients to feel this energy. So that's where that comes from. And so we start here. We start with this, what are your strengths? What are your passions? What are your values? Who are you at your very essence? And then we start to move into the essence of your brand. How do you weave this in so that you really figure that out so that it is, aligned to who you are? It's the words that, you do this deep work. And I can tell you that when I was doing this work for me, and what did I want to come forth last year? I did it in a ritual. Guess what? and you might recognize, look at these little eclipse glasses here, right? And I had sage, I had I had crystals out there. I had water that I was doing some cool things with. I had Palo, what do you call it? I can't think what it's called right now. But it's like a stick that burns magical, mystical kind of stuff. I had my journal, and I was outside, and it was the eclipse. And I was like, I have a new brand figuring out. I've got to figure out what my brand stands for. I need to know, and this is the best energy I could tap into. And I actually started on, I don't know, I started the day before the big eclipse last August. And I went outside and I did some things on the night before. The next morning I woke up early. I did some really, I just made space. Then the eclipse came about and I made more space. I literally took about, 30 hours of just kind of playing in this. And what was beautiful about it was the words came to me that I wanted my brand to stand for. And, so I really, really made space for this. And what words came up for me was like ripple and movement and song and dance. And, so these are all different words like gypsy soul and empowered and magic and spirit driven plus my strategy. This was some of my gifts, right? So I had done all this other work leading up to the eclipse. And then it was like, okay, this is what I want my brand to feel like. This is what I want it to feel like, or to the emotions and the energy I wanted to emit. And so this actually became this list of words became a really important list for me that I gave to my branding person, who is like the most incredible person who can look at this and create something from that. Right. And that was kind of the foundation of what launched my business. So know that the transition that I went through in that year, in this last year, was not a single point. It wasn't, sitting down for 4 hours and just ripping it out. It was actually letting it come up through my soul, letting it live through my soul, letting the wisdom that wants to drop in for me drop in. So my invitation to you will be to make some space for yourself to play in your brand, especially if you're seeing, if you're seeing some things that feel confusing, that are not really quite totally nailed in for you. If it's like, what are the different, who do I want to be working with, and those sorts of things. Make space on the questions that feel sticky for you. And I give you this in a document, right, so that you can really, use this on over a time period. We're going to go through it all today, but it's, know that you can go deeper on any one of these. So I want you to think about for a moment, who are your dream clients? Who are the people you most want to work with? And I want you to write down the names of 5 people who are your dream clients. Who would be the ideal client you'd love to work with?
Tammy, I have a question about that.
Sure.
So would that be like an actual person, like a name, or are we thinking more conceptually like a persona of a certain type of business owner? Or
Yeah, I love it when you can actually apply it to a person. And you may not be able to do that right now, but if you can, that's ideal. Because you can really start to get into their head then. You can get into the language that they use. We're going to talk about what we're going into next is how do you really niche your market space so that,
Right.
you're getting really clear about the ideal group of clients you'd like to be working with. But let's just start here with, 5 people who are your dream clients, and circle the one that, and it may be an existing client, or maybe it's somebody in the future that you'd love to be working with, and just circle the one that you'd love to be speaking to.
Okay, thank you.
So then after you get them written down, I want you to do kind of a shopping list activity around who they are and get really super descriptive about who your clients are. So, it can be demographic kind of information, whether it's male, female. It can be, doing these types of businesses. It can be, how they spend their days, what kind of music they like to listen to, how they like to spend their time. Just get really, you're just drawing a broad scope of, what those clients are like. And that's why it's nice to have specific names, right? Because you can put down really, you can get into under the covers into who they are. If you have specific people. Okay, we're going to talk about niches for a moment. I think these slides are, I'm going to actually go one slide forward. Where's this going?
I struggle with this one as well. The whole niche thing I've struggled with like my whole life because I look at human beings as my market.
Yeah. And it's really hard to get good marketing when we look at everybody. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why niche. I'm going to start there.
I know some niches, but yeah, I know some, but it's like, yeah.
So I'm going to just go back to starting my business, 8-9 years ago. And I wanted to be all things to all people. It's like, I can do that and I can do that over here. And why wouldn't I be all things, I can go do this. And I actually started as a consulting and a coaching business. And so I could go do some consulting work and land some pretty cool gigs. And I could go do coaching for, a lot of different types of coaching, leadership coaching. I could do next chapter coaching. I could do all kinds of things. And I did the first year. And in some ways, I had like some consulting business that came in that really helped, foundationally set me up that I could build for my business. But the deeper I got into my business was I realized that I loved the coaching side of it. And I didn't love the consulting side of it so much. So that my first clue was, niching my business down to the coaching business. Suddenly my clients in coaching doubled, from where I was, because I had a few clients in coaching and I had this nice coach consulting gig, but I decided I'm going to focus over here. As soon as I started that focus, my clients doubled how many clients I had in the door for coaching perspective. But still, I was being everything to all people. And then I got, I want to help people in that next chapter space. What's your next chapter look like? And soon as I did that, my clients doubled again. So my business, every time I started to niche down, it would double. Then I got really clear that, guess what? I'm bringing 90% of my clients are women. And so I decided to focus on women who were wanting their next chapter. My clients doubled again. So niching can be a way, and it's hard. I get it. It's so hard to let go of, but I can do these other things. And it doesn't mean you can't do those other things. I have men clients today. Right now, I have a man client. And you look at everything about my website, everything about how I position myself, everything that I do in Extraordinary Women Connect, Extraordinary Women Radio, there is nothing about men. I have a man client. He wanted my work. I get to do that. I still am positioning myself as this I've positioned myself down into the space of, I work with women who are really wanting to go out and make a difference in the world. And I help them do that from a very soulful, inspired way. And so niching can be really important, and it will grow your business if you trust it. What does a good niche look like? I don't know what this is. So a good niche looks like, you should have passion around it. So if your ideal group of clients that you're working with, you should have passion around that group. So for me, I have a huge passion for women entrepreneurs. I have connection and experiences, and I have a network in that space. So I already am connected into that group. If you don't have the connection into the group, it's like going and finding people that you don't have experiences with is a harder thing to do than people you have a really strong connection with. The niche should have a reason for needing you in an urgent way now. And that's really, really important. It's like, are people in that niche wanting to spend money with you because they have this urgent need, this urgent problem they need to fix? And they need to be a group that can be found. And that's another really important thing. Is there places these people hang out? What a niche should not be is too broad. I can do everything. It's like when I started out, I can be a consultant, I can be a coach, I can be all these different things. I could wear all those hats. I totally had that potential. But the more I focused down, the more it was like, whoop, there went my business. It grew exponentially. And what it should not be is a group of people who are too broke to pay you. They don't have any money, right? And so, make sure that, when you're identifying your niche, that they can afford to pay you. And it has to be a group that is, if they don't have an urgent need that needs to be fixed, then you need to really evaluate that. And it needs to be an urgent need, right? It's like, yes, I need to fix this now. I mean, when I get clients calling me saying, I need to change this now, that's an urgent need they're ready to invest in. So, really being able to understand that. So I want each of you to write down, what's the niche of people that you'd like to be serving and working with? And another reason this is really important is when you get into developing your messaging, if you're trying to serve everyone, your messaging becomes generic and how you serve. And that's a big piece of this. It's, if you're trying to serve everyone, people don't know what you stand for. They don't know how to introduce you to someone else. When I was trying to be a consultant or a coach I would actually choose, do I need to tell this person my consulting story, or do I need to tell this person my coaching story? And I often was wrong what I chose. And when I learned to let go of all of the, to get clear about what I do, every single person I met, I was telling the same story. And every time I would tell that story, they'd go, oh my God, and where it started for me, back about 7-8 years ago, was I help people figure out their next chapter in their life. And they're like, oh my God, I need to talk to you. And it might've been somebody that I would have told a consulting story to, but it was like that next chapter in your life started to really resonate with people. And again, they'd say, oh my God, I need to introduce you to so-and-so. They knew how to introduce me versus, oh my God, this person does this whole spectrum of things. You might want to know her, but I can't put words around why. That's the importance of that. So who would like to share their niche?
I mean, I'll share. I just don't know if it's so. Like, all I could come up with is someone stuck in their story but ready to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that knows where they want to go. Is that a niche?
Someone that
So it's like someone that's ready. My ideal client is someone that's ready to take action. It's like, okay, the best way to visualize it is you have a seed and you have a plant, and then you have this space in between for the seed to become the plant.
Mm-hmm.
I am this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I serve people to become the seed to the plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the space where people need support, they need permission, they need guidance, they need accountability, they need somebody that cares, right? So there's that whole space that I like to serve, but I don't exactly know what that is,
Mm-hmm.
because I could get niche like, I want to help people with MS, but like, actually, I really don't.
Right.
You know, I mean, I do. It's a story of mine.
Yeah.
Or like, but so far, those people don't pay. That's why they're stuck in their story. I don't want to work with people stuck in their story. I want to work with people that are stuck in their story but ready to get unstuck.
Okay. And I would say that's pretty broad. So let's see if we can't narrow it down a little bit. So when you think about what kind of stories are they stuck in, or what kind of story ideas?
Okay.
Do they already have the ideas where they want to go?
I want to work with somebody that needs a powerful perspective shift. So it's like,
why do they need a powerful perspective shift?
Because they have a limited view of what they think is possible given their circumstances, because they haven't looked at it from a different point of view. And I am that point of view.
Problem. So I'm going to pull you back out again.
Okay.
And let's what are they wanting? What are the ideas and things that they want to achieve? Where do they want to be?
They want to be the best version of themselves.
Why?
Because they no longer, because their victimization isn't their inability to speak their truth, their victimization and their circumstances no longer serve them.
Okay, so those are old stories, and
okay,
but we're still not talking about who it is you're serving, and what they're wanting. I mean, let's talk about the group of people. Are they entrepreneurs? Are they executives? Are they age ranges? Are they? I
mean, ideally, like again, it's hard for me to say just women, but I think women, because I work with men too,
Mm-hmm.
but women are more apt to say yes. So I connect better with women. So I could say women age, 25 to 55.
And what do they do for a living?
They're in transition of sorts.
Okay.
So it's someone in a transition, whether that be in job, whether that be in career, in relationship, in health, or in life.
Okay. So you start, and you can play with this, right? So career, relationship, health, or life. And I would say that your age group, you probably could niche into a tighter niche. Just because when you start writing messaging, I can tell you that, for example, my messaging in or Sarah's messaging, let's use Sarah Bonenkamp, for those of you who know Sarah, has very edgy messaging, right? She talks about epic shit, and I'm
edgier as well.
Yeah.
I'm like edgy. I'm like Amy Schumer meets Gabby Bernstein in the middle.
Love it. And so once you start getting clear, so if you think of Sarah, her language really speaks to the millennial market space, right? So she draws in millennials like crazy. My language doesn't speak to that many millennials.
Right.
And so that was part of when she and I were doing partnership on this, and we were like meshing our language together. It wasn't sticking for people because it was a mesh of language that two of us were putting together. And when we separated it, it's like, oh my God, both of what we were doing just went like crazy. It grew like crazy. So finding the group that you serve, I think it's probably, there's an element, finding that age group. I think women in transition, I think you can create community. You already have created community around that sort of a niche. And so then from that, you can really build something. Was that helpful?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that that's it. I mean, I think that's something that you really need to sit with. You need to really get clear on who your niche is, but you've really started to niche that. Even from where you started, this started to niche this down in a much better way.
Yeah. My friend, one of my best friends, she just thinks my product needs to be Ask Carlin, because I don't coach people. People come to me with questions, and they come to me with very specific needs, and they want my feedback. And some of it's coaching, but honestly, I help people like this. It doesn't need to be a coaching program. And it's humans that just come to me with questions. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it is this, I look at myself as this like Dear Abby meets, Carrie Bradshaw, mm-hmm. in this space of offering advice on what would Carlin do, or how did Carlin do it?
Yeah.
So it's this weird place of, what am I? Am I even a coach? Do I even want to be a coach?
Yeah.
Or is it just this instant stuff I offer people?
Yeah. And I think that's a business model question, right? It's like, what's that revenue? And that's kind of taking some of the work that we did last month on, how do you monetize that and make that the business that you want to make it, bringing you the revenue that you want to be bringing into your business. And those are those kinds of questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Denise, how about you? I know you have a nice, pretty focused niche. Let's hear yours.
I do. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a career and salary negotiation coach. And so when I think about my niche and who I want to attract, it's people in their 30s and 40s, kind of mid-management, mid-career, but they're bleeding that problem, like when they're laying in bed at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, is they just don't want to get up in the morning and go to work. There's something off, whether it relates to the company or their manager or the job they're doing, and they feel very undervalued, underrecognized, underpaid, and they know they're able to deliver more, but just everything that they're kind of involved in and where they're working isn't working. And so they're at the point they know they need to make a change. They don't want to even grab the doorknob into the office because it just feels like they have to put on a persona that isn't really themselves to be successful. And so they know they need to make a change because it just is dreadful to go to work every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the niche, when I think of your niche too, it's women. It's a really good niche, and because it's very specific. And what I also like about it, and this is where we're going to go next here, is you're identifying some really, here's the problems, and you guys have this worksheet in your workbook on. I don't know. I didn't label these, but it looks, you guys have a 3-column spreadsheet about the middle of the book here. And what I love about what you just shared, Denise, is that you have already, you're identifying, these are the problems and the issues that your clients face, right? And when you think about the emotions that they're feeling in the middle of the night when they wake up, what are those?
They're afraid, they're in pain. It just feels so hard to get dressed in the morning. It feels hard to do the work. They know they could do better, but they're not engaged anymore. They're not feeling like everything they could do is even recognized. They've kind of shut down almost in terms of how they're how they're showing up, not just in their work life, but in their personal life. They're in such pain. And they're at the point of, wanting to quit, but, they know they need to have a paycheck in order to pay the bills, but they know they have to make a change. And for some of them, I would say I've been in the same job for 10 years or, even longer, and I don't have a resume. I don't have a cover letter. My LinkedIn profile is crappy, and I know it's crappy, and I don't even know where to begin. And the whole idea of, interviewing just scares the crap out of me. And, they're in that space of, almost inaction just because they're so overwhelmed. So how do you help somebody step into advocating for themselves and feeling empowered to take even the smallest baby step in order to make a change?
And the other thing that I love about your work is that in this problem is they don't know how to ask for the amount of money that they're worth.
Right. And so in that space, if you are showing up and you're in that type of deep psychological pain, you aren't doing your best work, right? So what I do is I help them get in the right company that has the right purpose that's aligned to what they value and has the right work culture. And then they show up and produce amazing results. And then it's very easy to ask for more money. Or I'll get, here's the other thing I'll get people who have produced great results and they're laid off. Right. And they're like, oh my God, I thought I was going to have this job until I could retire. And now I'm laid off and I got to start over and I don't even know where to begin. And I've got all these great stories of all the great results I've produced, but I don't know how to frame those stories in a way that during an interview or an informational coffee date with somebody, I don't know how to talk about it in the context of what the business defines as success. So can you help me with that? And then once they do that, they're even before the company has a job opening, and they get the headcount approved, they're already thinking of my clients as that's the person I want to hire into this job. So getting them ahead of the curve before the job is even posted is what I try to do.
Okay. And then how do they want to feel? What's that? Once their issue is filled, how are they going to be showing up in work? What's the energy of how they're showing up in work?
So they show up energized in the sense that they are tapping into their talents. They're feeling challenged enough to feel like not only can they be successful, but they're being stretched, and that they have the potential to do more than their current job. They can add value even greater than that. And they work for a company that recognizes that, and they have the right relationships both inside and outside of the company, so that they can be recognized, whether it's within the company or the industry, for their talent and their expertise. So I vet my clients pretty carefully to make sure that they're unique enough that they can, ask for a good deal of money.
Yeah. And I think that's, that they could be asking for, you have a really strong, what they'd like. I mean, they could be getting a $20,000 increase on their work that they've done with you. That's that kind of
I actually had a client who got that recently. He got laid off and I helped him negotiate with a startup, and the first offer he got was less than what he was worth. And so we talked about the funding and where the startup was, and we got him I got him an additional 20%, a bonus they hadn't initially offered, and then a performance review in 6 months, plus an extra week of vacation. And so he felt really comfortable.
So there's some very substantial, they're going to feel really excited about that. And for you, that this is a really tangible number that they can put onto it. So and
so I usually pull people in with the idea I can help you earn more money. But what I really do is help them back into, how do you get the type of work and company that is aligned to what you value and your purpose, and then money follows, right?
Cool. Very, very cool. So I am going to give you guys about 10 minutes, and you guys can take a bio break during this time if you need to. And I want you to use this 3-column spreadsheet that you have here that looks like this, and start writing out, really get clear about that. Who's the group that I want to be working with? Who's the group I want to be working with? What are their problems, their issues that's waking them up in the middle of the night? Those urgent problems and issues you can help them solve. What is the pain that they feel? What are the emotions that they have around those problems and those issues, and how will they feel when this problem and issue is resolved. You can also turn on, I think you should be able to turn on you can, oh, there's people that have been chatting here. Yes, and Kathleen, I just see your chat that you've sent me, and I will go back to that as we take this break for you. And if you guys have questions while you're working on this worksheet, and I'm actually going to give you 15 minutes so that we'll come back. Now I'm going to give you 10. So 10:20, it's 10:23 right now. So at 10:33, we'll come back. If you guys have questions in between now and then, you can write them out in the chat, and we'll go from there. And Kathleen, I'll put that back on that slide for you. And go ahead and take a stab at this, and then we'll come back and chat about it. I am going to go take a little quick bio break, so I'll be right back. And as you look at your list of problems and issues, I want you to go back through that list and circle perhaps the first or the second most urgent want and need that your client might have. What's going to have them saying, I need you now? And Kara, we haven't heard from you yet today, so I'd love to have you share what are some of what's the top problem or issue your clients are facing? You have to unmute yourself. Maybe I can unmute you.
I'm trying to think. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to do the audio phone and my internet connection's wonky. So my broader niche group that I work with are nonprofit organizations. Mm-hmm. And so in working with them in kind of a combination of a consulting and training role, I think consistently people are challenged by this desire to have impact, obviously with the groups they're serving, but just limited by resource constraints and limited by parameters put out by funders. Mm-hmm. And so I actually was having a validation of a recent aha when we were talking through the last piece around our niche. And I think, nonprofits as a sector are not a group that can pay a ton of money for what I'm offering. So I think for me, it's having to build more creative partnerships with foundations and other folks that are interested in some of the same issues in the community to support what people are trying to accomplish. So that being said, I think it's how do I help nonprofits make those connections to the funders and investors that want to be part of the solution that they're trying to address, and facilitate those partnerships. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So their big challenge is they don't have, so is your target audience is the nonprofit. It's not the resources. That's correct?
Well, I think that's where my more recent ahas come in. I think my stronger connection is within the nonprofit service providing community, but mm-hmm. I need to do some work with my connections in the foundation and investing community and build that a little bit better to bridge that. Because I think having them bought in from the beginning will allow them to be part of the process and work on the problems that as investors, they want to have impact, as foundations, they want to have impact in the community as well. So connecting people with similar missions.
Okay. So I think that's a really interesting question for you really to ponder, first of all, because it's if your audience becomes the philanthropists that want to make an impact and helping them connect into the organizations, that's a different chart that you'd be working through with this than you would be for your nonprofits. And it's not to say that you couldn't have one of these charts for both sides, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling sort of this pull to do a little bit of both, and because I mean, part of it for me is identifying the groups that's going to work most effectively with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ultimately, I'm wanting to have an impact in how we're addressing some of these bigger, complex social issues, because I think right now it's a very funder-driven approach, as opposed to like what's the right approach and what's best practice for solving issues like homelessness and housing issues and things like that. And so I think it's shifting that power dynamic a little bit. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to focus on both sides, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does make sense, and I like that. So let's look at this from the nonprofit side for just. Is that what you built this, or what did you build this on today?
Okay.
What
I started to fill out the chart with base. Yeah, I started to build out the chart on the nonprofit side because that's where most of my clients come in right now. But in thinking about like a current client that came in recently, the other thing I thought about is, if it is coming in through the nonprofit door, is there a way to leverage it into something bigger? So an example is I'm taking on a client within the Division of Criminal Justice, but rather than training just this one entity, I'm designing training for them it's more of a train the trainer model. So I'm training a group of 15, but then they're going to be able to take that model back out to their respective communities. So all 30 of their communities couldn't pay for me individually, but by bringing a group together, I can leverage the impact because they're going to take what we've worked on back out into their communities. So it's a way to work around some of the funding challenges for me.
Yeah. And so what I hear is the problem that these nonprofits are facing, number one, is funding, right?
Sure, resources. And that can be people and dollars. And absolutely,
the emotional pain that keeps that head of that nonprofit awake at night is what?
Because they're not getting to serve who they want to serve most effectively in the way they know is best practice. And I think they feel limited and they feel frustrated, and people aren't in nonprofit to make a buck. They're in nonprofit because they're passionate about who they're trying to serve.
Right. And then how do they want to feel?
Like they're making a difference in the lives of the people that they're touching.
Yes. And that's a really good example.
And they're working themselves out of jobs.
Yeah. And it's a really good example between, if you looked at each three of those columns, and the more, and what I love about this tool, you guys, is multiple things, is understanding what that problem is, what the issue is. If you understand the challenges they're facing, you understand what's urgent that they want fixed right now, and you understand the emotions associated with that, you can really get into, speaking their language, right? Their love language is what we call it. And you, and
I realize, I'm sorry.
Yeah, by getting into the language that really resonates with them, the marketing messages that you develop, will always speak to your client's heart. And that's what you're trying to get to. And there's two schools of thoughts when you look at this. So let me just back up one step. When you do this document in full and, with a lot of really good intention, I've actually gone out and done client surveys or prospect surveys or market surveys to my target audience, and asked them questions that gave me feedback on this so that I could really validate what I was putting into this chart. And when you take the work of using surveys and getting feedback from your clients, that helping you get the language that they use into this chart, this tool can become, every single time you sit down to write marketing content, it can be something that you come back to. So I highly recommend doing this in a way where you start with your ideas of what can be and what should be in these columns, but then go out and validate it with your clients. And so that you're filling this out and you're getting the words that they use versus the words that you use. Because we often in our you know, we often go right there into a space of, you know, what is it that you're, you know, what is it that you're feeling? What is it? And we're putting words in their mouth versus letting people come back to us. And this is the biggest pains and challenges that I have. And the two schools of thought on developing content off of this is, one, you can create marketing that is very pain focused. Are you feeling these pains? Are you feeling stuck? Are you wishing, you know, so that, and you see a lot of that out there. And what was interesting for me, and I think this is really could be something for you to think about, Kara, because you work in the world of positive psychology as well. I caught myself not sounding like myself in my marketing, and I realized that my marketing has always been aspirational. What do you want to achieve? What are you going to? And I had a big shift when I relaunched my brand last year. Was I wanted it? I wanted my words coming out of that right-hand column, not out of the first two columns. And that's totally contrary to what is everything that's out there that's being taught. And, you know, find the pain, focus on the pain, solve the pain, you know, use pain language in your messaging. And that was a big, big shift for me. And part of where I'd gotten lost in my marketing and my branding back several years ago. Because I started following you know, this is how you're supposed to create a sales page. It's all pain oriented. You're supposed to do it this, you know, and it wasn't me. At the end of the day, it wasn't me. And so this has been a really good tool for me to leverage when I redid my brand, to bring it back into that aspirational way of being. So that's a choice you guys get to make, and only you guys can figure out what's the right choice for you. And choosing what you want, what's that feel of your brand that you want to be portraying? Is it a positive, or is it an aspirational that you're leading somebody someplace, or is it I'm going to help you fix these problems? You get to choose which works for you. And I'm not saying either is wrong or right. Each one of us has to choose what works for us and what resonates with our audience. So, I'm going to keep.
Well, and I've realized recently something on.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, that's validating, because I recently realized when I lead with how I feel authentically, and it is that more positive approach, I'm drawing in the right clients as opposed to the folks that are going to continue to challenge and push, and really our values aren't aligned in how we do the work. And so they're really not the right client for me.
Yeah. And that's the same with me. It's like when I start talking about soul and spirit, and if that's not resonating with people of tuning inside and listening to your inner wisdom before you're stepping into this, I'm not the one that's going to like be the one that's holding your feet to a fire and saying, you need to do this. And if you don't do this, you know, in this amount of time, and here's here's the 5-step process. That's not me. And so if somebody's looking for that kind of coach, that's, you know, I think that's how we attract people that we really want, is that we speak. There we go. Our clients love language, right? It's getting into the way that we're drawing our ideal clients, those dream clients that we want to be working with, and, you know, that have the dollars to pay us. And we understand, because we've listened to them, we've talked to them, we've gotten the words that they're using when we're talking to them. Tell us about that challenge you have. And it's not to say that you don't need to understand their challenge and issue. You have to understand their challenge and issue. And you have to understand what they feel when they're in that painful place. But you can help aspire them to that what can be. So, and for those of you who have had brands, I'm going to keep moving here. Those of you who have had brands that have existed, there's huge value in coming back to looking at your brand. Is it still in sync? Is it shifting? Is it evolving? And I'm just going to give you a really quick look. So this is where I was a year ago, right? These were my old brands. I had my old company name, Syzygy. I had all these things that were popping up: Extraordinary Women Radio, Extraordinary Women Connect, my Ignite event that I was doing. So I had all these different things I was doing. My website was actually really out of from what I was doing with my clients. It was no longer in alignment. my social media had some colors that I was kind of playing with, but there was nothing that was really consistent. It was pretty much a hodgepodge. And I had my book in the middle of all of this, and it was like, okay, how does this all fit together? I'm really starting to be confused. Does it all fit together? And this might be, I know Connie's really been looking at this. How do all the pieces of her business that she's built, how does it start to fit together? So I actually did, I do a survey on my website that is helping people through that next bold move in their life, right? And, going back to where my business was 8 years ago, was all about people who were in this space of, my mask to work. I know I want something different in my life. I just don't know what that is. And so I had this data because I had this quiz built on my website already. And this was my traditional market space. But people were taking the quiz, and what I was finding, and then there's people that they knew what they wanted, but they were fearful into stepping into their what's next. And so that was what was holding them back. And then there was people that were, I know what I want to do in my life, but I don't really know how to take those next steps. And so my traditional brand was all focused over here in probably this space. And what was really interesting when I started looking at this data, so this is why data is so important, right? Is if we can understand where our clients are in their lives, and why I recommend going out and doing client surveys, you get tons of information. What became really clear was I had this whole tribe of people who were emerging experts that really knew what they already wanted to do and wanted to go share their voice with the world. And this was this growing section of my business that none of my branding was covering. It was like, it was out of date. And this was something that I served people with in a really incredible way. It was what my background was. I had this huge aha. It's like, oh my God, I've done this my whole career. And I actually had some really strong corporate experience in helping emerging voices come out. So this was part of my aha of, oh my gosh, I've got something I need to change in my brand. And so I sat down one day and I'm like, okay, what are all the pieces? And this is something that I would recommend for all of you to do. What's your brand look like? Who are you in your business today? What are the different things you have? So I had my podcast. I had all of this inside out, your branding, being seen, being heard, helping people make an impact. I had the ripple effect that I often talked about. I had the next chapter people that I was working with. I had my book. I had, this being seen piece. So all these pieces. So this was me sitting down again on one of my little mystical, magical days of, okay, light a candle. What's happening in my business? What are the pieces of it? And I mind mapped it. And from that, I was able to go one more step and start to map it together in a way that says, okay, what's there to be with my business? And so I actually started from the bottom up. It was like, what are the things that I really care about? And so at the bottom, I said, I really love helping people figure out their next chapter. I love helping them tap into their passion and their purpose and to have an impact. I love helping people through that marketing, the branding. How do you really get into the mindset of growing your business? So, this is how I'm helping my clients through this journey, and then going out and sharing their voice with the world. So this was what came out of that messy chart. I found clarity in saying, you know what, guess what? There's a cycle here, right? I'm helping people through this cycle. And then, who were the people that I was helping? And it was women who were wanting their what's next. It was the entrepreneurs. It was helping people move into a passion and purposeful what's next in their life and in their business. And that's where this evolved to. These were the different components. I had my private and my group coaching. I had my Extraordinary Women brand. I had my community, my empowerment tribe of my clients, which is an incredibly powerful group of women. I had my mastermind group. I had my book. I had my retreats that I ran. So these were my products that I had. And, it just gave me a way to kind of hone this all in. It's like, what are the different pieces of your business, and how are you serving? What's your why? That sort of thing. And what I was able to do through that was come up with my new tagline for my business, which was the Soulful Inspired Transformation in Business and Life, to shine, rise, and unite. And this was because I was able to kind of funnel this down, or funnel this up in this case, into a view of all the different pieces of my business. And so what I would recommend for any of you, and this is a complex exercise that I don't have time to go into in depth here, but think about what are the things that you're most passionate about helping people with. Think about who are the clients that you're serving. Think about what your product mix is today. Do they all fit together? There were some things that were on mine that I got rid of, that I didn't keep in this because it just didn't fit in the mix of all of this. And then you're really rolling it up to a brand statement of some sort. So where that took me was, I had this whole new brand. I was like, Syzygy wasn't serving me anymore. That name, that brand wasn't serving me anymore. So the importance of having a brand audit is to say, does this still serve me? It did not fit in here. There was no place that Syzygy could be told in this story. So there was a new brand that came through this, a way to weave in my extraordinary women components. And if you look down here was the brand essence that I shared with you guys early on. That was all about, what's the essence of my brand? How is it flowing forth? And when I gave my person who designed my logo these pieces, she came back with, these are colors that help tie into these. And I actually gave her I made a color chart out of, I think, Pinterest, like just picking pictures. And I gave her that kind of an inspiration so she could come back with colors. But that's me, because I'm an old branding geek and I like that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the launch of my website happened in December. So that was the process that I went through. And I think I wanted to share that with you guys because it was a deep process. And I didn't get to this by, it was a long, almost year-long process that took me to get to this. So be patient with yourselves. And what I would suggest to you is let me get back to this. Find this, what speaks to your client, what speaks to your client's heart, and weave that in together with who you are at your very essence and how you want your brand to be felt and to be experienced. And that's going to give you some really powerful ways to line into that. And somehow we missed a whole question here, and I don't know where it is. I think my computer has been skipping pages. I want you to take a moment with this page for just.
And I
want to chime in and just say something.
Seeing new slides, Cammie. We're
What?
not seeing new slides, Cammie. We still have the why niche slide up. We're not seeing anything beyond that.
I see who are you as an entrepreneur? Who do people experience? How do people experience? And Cammie, I just want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not seeing that.
I never saw your website till December. So I only know you as this brand.
Oh, cool.
So your brand worked because that's what drew me to want to connect with you. Because I think that's when I reached out to you, was like early December or something.
It was,
mid-December.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm glad you shared that. I really am glad you shared that. Let me reshare that screen now.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's not what I want. See if I can get that to pull up for you, Denise. Let me close that. Share screen. There we go. Yeah, I think I've had a little. So now do you see it?
I still see you.
Now
I don't see.
Now I can only see people.
Yeah,
Okay,
that happened to me too.
Okay.
Now it's changed.
Okay.
Now it's catching
Oh, there
up.
we go.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. So take a moment. I want you guys, because, we just went through a whole lot of things, but this is a really important slide, and we were going through this, and we skipped over it somehow. And I think it's because my slide projector it's been sometimes skipping a couple slides at a time. So, on, I think, the third page of your workbook. Yes. So, going back to that, who you are as a person, who are you as an entrepreneur? How do people experience your brand, experience your business? What is the energy of you and your brand and how you resonate? And if your brand was an animal, what would it be? So that in itself is one of my favorite questions. And I don't want you guys to miss that today. So take a moment, take about, 3-4 minutes on this one, and spend a little time on it. And we'll come back. And then we're going to jump into, how do you really build a marketing plan that is aligned to who you are? But this is a core piece of your brand.
When you say how do people experience your business, do you mean like your business model?
No, how do people experience, how were people experiencing you last night at Strangers to Friends? As cultural, right?
Yeah.
What's that experience of hanging out with you like? And my favorite question here is if your brand was an animal, what would it be? I can't wait to hear some of the responses. So go ahead and spend a couple moments on that.
Okay.
I like it, Mine. So my animal was a snow leopard, by the way.
Oh, why did you pick that?
Because there was magical and mystic to it. The colors really spoke to me. I think a lot of my journey began in Tibet, 10, 12 years ago, when I was still in the corporate world. So there was, there was that, the softness of a snow leopard. But I think it was energetically, for me, it was that. So even on my chart that I gave my designer that did my logo, it had a snow leopard on it. So,
Oh, neat.
yeah, it was. And so she totally, played with that. So Mine had an elephant. Why'd you choose elephant? What was that? What was there for you?
I chose elephant because elephants don't exist in the United States, and my products don't exist in the United States. That's one reason.
Yeah.
2, elephants are exotic animals, and my brand, I want to be known for an exotic entrepreneur who wants to make other women feel exotic and cross-cultural and worldly. And other than that, elephants are so connected. They travel as a group, and I need to be connected to people as well, and that's why I chose elephant.
I love it. And I totally agree. I feel all of that for you. So that's fantastic. And Carlin said, is butterfly an animal? Absolutely, a butterfly is an animal. Why'd you choose butterfly?
Because that is the final product of anybody I work with.
Flying up, right? And transition, right?
Yeah, most people I get the honor of supporting them in a cocoon-like state of sorts. Yeah. And butterflies to me just represent freedom, which is the emotion that I feel most people get to embody as a result of the different ways they connect with me, because they're ultimately giving themselves the freedom to be themselves.
Yeah.
And butterflies are just like,
totally.
There's a lot of trust involved. Like, butterflies are just a product of trust. There's that question of, does the caterpillar know he's entering the cocoon to become a butterfly? Right. Like, do butterflies fly over to caterpillars and be like, this is me now? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it's just trust.
I like that. I love it for you. Kathy, we haven't heard from you today. I can unmute you. There you go.
Just unmuting myself.
Yeah. What's your animal?
Well, I know this could be evolving as I'm evolving, but I wrote down a tiger because the tiger is strong.
Oops, you're cutting out a little bit, so keep facing forward because you cut out when you've turned your head.
Okay. I put a tiger because the tiger yet is quiet, yet strong, efficient, and productive.
Nice.
In a quiet, sort of graceful way.
Love it. I love it. So you guys, if you guys can type into the box whatever your animal was, that would be fun. And if anybody wants to just shout out what animal you had, that's fine as well.
Mine was a bird.
Any kind of a bird?
No, just a generic bird.
So I would challenge you to go deeper on that, because birds can be so different across the spectrum, right? So
this is Kathleen. Can you hear me?
Yep. Uh-huh.
I think of 3 of my significant house cats I've had. I create an incredibly warm and welcoming environment. So, and I think about them being warm and cuddly and funny and light, and they're authentic. They follow their muse no matter what. They're very intense and focused no matter what they do, even if they're sleeping.
Yeah.
And they have a very interesting combination of freedom, doing what they want when they want, but also knowing what's good for them. And kind of what I always say is they know what side their bread's buttered on. They know where to go get the good stuff.
Yeah, this is good.
Food and shelter.
And what I would encourage all of you is if you could go right on an hour on these questions, right? You really could. You could go right on an hour of just making space to get really, really clear. So we've got a chameleon from Kara, quickly assimilate into the environment, adaptive, focused, and can quickly get out of the way so my clients can get their work done. Also, they love the sunshine. Lee said, I'm debating between a Labrador Retriever, friendly, loyal, focused, energetic, and elephant. Large, loyal, maternal, wise, determined. So there's some consistencies in there. So that's fun. So yeah, that's a really fun exercise. And I love bringing this exercise into branding because so much can be, again, we start from that inside out. How do we bring who we are in our essence out to how our clients experience us? What's the relationships that we create for our clients? What's the relationships like that we create with our clients? When we host an event, what's the experience in the event that they get to have? Let's see, Denise, so she took it deeper. She says, an eagle soaring, trusting their wings, getting there fast, flying higher than you thought possible. So I'm glad you went deeper with that, because you think about it, an eagle is so much different than, say, a hummingbird, right? And, a hummingbird has like...
Right, and I did think hummingbird, and then I was like, doesn't fit.
Yeah, so, and it's just fun to play with, and it's... So I appreciate that. I totally love it. So thank you guys for playing on that part of it. And let me scoot this over here and make sure I didn't leave out anything that was supposed to be in here. This was, Kathleen mentioned this. This was a slide that we skipped over as well. This is a good question list of what keeps people up at night, when you're thinking about your niche, what keeps them up at night, what makes them smile, what are their urgent wants and needs, what makes them cry, where do they live, how much do they gross, how much do they earn per year, what do they eat, what do they drive, what do they smell like, what do they fit, what makes them feel lit up, what do they value, how do they make a difference in the world? Those are all different questions to kind of play with. And when you're thinking about your audience, which, gets you really back into that niching piece. So sorry about having to kind of jump around there, but that my slides were going more than one at a time. So let me do something here. I'm going to stop the recording here and then restart the recording.